It becomes useful that you know you're not the body when it comes time to let go of the body, okay? So between knowing you're not the body as a concept, right, that concept won't change the way the relationship with the body is wired up. You know you're not the body, right? But because you live in a world where everybody thinks they're the body, it's hard to escape that identity, right? So you know you're not the body, but you still have this identification with the body. So having seen that you're not the body, now the game is on about practicing staying aware that that's not the case as you go through your life. It's a balance, right? Because I'm not the body, but I have to operate in the world as the body, right? So I'll be the body. I know I'm not the body, but I'll be the body because it puts me in the best position to function in the world as the body, okay? But when it comes time for the body to stop, when the body gets worn out, right, and it's going to die. It's an organic reality. It was born and it's going to die, right? So I know I'm not the body, but as I go through my life, I have to continue to revisit that, to keep that alive, right? So that when the time comes, whether it's old age or an accident, right? I could be young and be in an accident, right? That when that time comes, that I can make the shift, I can let go of the identity with the body and experience the freedom. Experience the freedom, which means to experience no death. To experience no death. So what else? So the thing that I'm saying is the practice is to do nothing. The practice is not to attempt to change anything. See, the more you try to realize your true nature, the farther away from your true nature you get. Because the very trying of it is reinforcing, you know, the trying of it is reinforcing that you're waiting for the bus. You know, if you're on the bus waiting for the bus, you're trying to wait for the bus. You're not paying attention to being on the bus. You're interested in when the bus is going to come, right? You're looking for a bus to come. No bus is going to come because you're on the bus. So how do you deal with that? How do you fix that? You don't fix it and you don't deal with it, right? When you wake up, when you recognize that there is an awake state that's always available, you don't have to do anything to be that. All you have to do is let that be you. You know, don't try and be the awareness. Don't try and be the awareness. Let yourself recognize you are the awareness. You see the subtle difference? Don't try and be the awareness. Let yourself recognize you are the awareness. What do you have to do that? Nothing. Nothing. And you can discover the existence of that as the truth because as you go through your life, right, and you experience things like runners experience, like in the zone, right? Yeah, when you're doing anything in your life that requires so much involvement of your attention that you can't think about yourself, when you're doing something in life that requires so much of an involvement of your attention that you can't think about yourself, then you're being yourself, right? Because in order to be the personality, you have to think about the personality. So when you're doing things in the world, you're thinking about you doing them. You see what I'm saying? You're always there. You're always remembering, oh, this is me doing it, right? Especially in relationships with other people, you're remembering that, oh, I am relating to this person. I am talking to them. I am, you know, whatever with them, right? But if you get involved in high performance sports, for example, and that requires your full attention be on the road if you're a race car driver, or your full attention be on the ball if you're a baseball player, right? While you're doing that, you're being yourself. This is why people who play high performance sports talk about the zone, talk about feeling high, talk about how happy they are. And it's also the reason why a lot of high level performers in professional sports end up committing suicide or end up on drugs. Which is true. You know, people don't follow up on a lot of that stuff, right? But a lot of these people end up having serious psychological issues, right? Why? Because they can't get back to the high. They can't play baseball anymore. They can't play football anymore. They can't get back to the high. They don't know how to get back to the high. They didn't know that they didn't know how to access to their actual true nature when they were playing high performance sports. even while they're in the process of playing high performance sports, they could go home and smack their wife around and lose all that money. Because
Surfing yesterday, I felt when I'm actually surfing, I'm just in the moment. There's nothing.
because you have to be, or you can't surf.
You can't surf.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is that's an opportunity to recognize what it's like to be you. Because when you're in that experience of surfing, right, and when your attention is fully involved in the surfing, right, it's elating, right? It feels great.
It's just the wave and then.
Yeah, because you know why? Because you know why it's so elating and so much fun? Because you're not there.
Yes, absolutely. If you're on the outside, you could get caught in your thoughts because you're sitting there waiting for the next wave. But when you're actually on the wave, it's just that. That's what you enjoy.
Yeah, but you're not on the wave. I know what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But the reason it feels so good is because you're not on the wave. All there is the wave. You know, I saw a video, one of Casey Nestax. I saw a video of a guy in California who's a blind surfer, right? And so when he was being interviewed, he was being asked, well, how do you surf? How do you surf blind, right? And he says, I hear the waves and I feel the waves. And that's all I need. And he's able to surf, right? And I'm sure in his case, it's very similar to what you're saying, that when he's there, right, that he's not there. So so then how would you translate this? So when you're not there, you're there, right? When you're not there, you're there. Because in order for you not to be there, you have to stop remembering who you are, right? Because the only way you know who you are is you remember it. That's so important for you to understand. The only way you know who you are is you remember it. But you're so used to remembering it that you don't notice you're remembering it. You know, you just think, well, I'm here, right? No, you're not just here. You have to you have to put yourself here because you're not really here. You have to pretend. You have to pretend that you're here because you're not really here. How do you pretend that you're here? You think you are. That's how you pretend. Or the way you pretend you're here is the body does something and you say, I did that. The body does something and you say, I did that. That's how I know I'm here. But your true nature, acceptance isn't a doing. For your true nature, acceptance is not an action. And this is why I say when I talk about your true nature, I say acceptance is a concession. We're using acceptance as a word, it's a concession. It's not actually describing how the natural state is because the natural state can't reject. It can't reject. Therefore, it cannot accept, right? So if you see, and this is an important point because a lot of people say, oh, I get it. If I just practice accepting everything, I'll be happy. That's the personality's understanding, right? And that means that that's an action you take, right? That I accept. I practice accepting things, right? But the reality of your natural state is that it doesn't accept or reject. It simply is. That's why Mooji called it isness. It simply is, period. Nothing else. Nothing else. Just presence. That's all there is, just presence. Now, the nature of that presence is that it doesn't accept or reject. It can be with everything the same way. It doesn't have to try to do anything. It's already being comes before doing. It's being, doing, and having. Being comes before doing. That's why what you have to do to be what you already are is nothing. So how do you do nothing? You know, because the more you have to lose, the harder it is to let go. You know, or the more you think you have to lose, the harder it is to let go. But even that person on their deathbed will have the same opportunity and the same choices that every other human being has. Because when you're on your deathbed, how much money you have is irrelevant. No matter what you did to escape being an ordinary person, you're an ordinary person when you're on your deathbed. There's no way out of it. And so if you recognize that, you don't wait till then to deal with what there is to deal with. You know, you start to understand, you start to let yourself see and experience the truth, which is that there's nothing wrong with money, there's nothing wrong with material things, there's nothing wrong with having things, right? It's just not going to get you what you really want, you know? You know, when I was working in the prison system, when I was working with inmates, I would do intensive work with inmates in which I would walk them through a process in which I would help them to realize that they made a big mistake that ended them up in prison. And the big mistake they made was thinking that what they wanted was money, right? What they want, why would you want money? Well, that you want money because the money can provide you with a certain experience that you're after, isn't it? Yeah. So what you really want is an experience, not money, right? But if you don't understand that that's the case and you want money, then you'll do anything to get it because you think that's the key to happiness. That's the key to success, right? Of course, it didn't work out well for people that end up in prison, right? But then they realized, wait a minute, had I realized that before, I would have stopped chasing money and understood it's the experience that I think money can get me. Same thing with drugs. You know, when I realized that the reason I was addicted to substances is because it's the experience they give me that I want. So once you understand that, then you start getting interested in, okay, is there a way to experience that experience without the substance or without the money or without whatever else I come up with or whatever else the world presents me with that tells me I have to have in order to be happy, satisfied, and at peace. So to realize that in prison, you know, is a big realization, and then to begin to practice the possibility in prison to experience the experience that you are really after. And there are people who I met in prison who did experience the experience without the money, without the drugs. So that opens up a whole new realm of possibility for them as they go back into the world. But as I was sharing with somebody earlier, for many of them, after they got out of prison and went back to the world, right, they couldn't maintain that practice in the world because the attractions were so intense. You know, they were removed from all of those things that you can have in the free world, right? Sex, right? Money, good food, right? The freedom to move around where you want, you know? So when somebody gets that back, all of a sudden, it's like they're in a candy store, right? And so in many cases, that the attraction that came back in and started to feed the personality again, right? And so before they could catch it, you know, they were back in the rat race again. But a few of them made it all the way. A few of them made it all the way through, right? And that's no different than here, because the only difference between here and those, you guys and those guys, right, or you people and those people, is that they couldn't deny the fact that they were in prison. All they had to do was get up in the morning and look around, right? But you walk around in the prison, you can't see it. See, you're just as in prison as they are, because anybody that thinks they're somebody that they're not is in prison. Anybody that thinks the world is something that it's not has them be in prison, right? So another way to say it is that you're in a medium or a minimum security prison. Some people are in a maximum security prison because their personality is like that intense in terms of how it limits who they're being and what they can do, you know? So to get out of prison for you is the same as to get out of prison for them, is to realize that what you really want more than anything else has always been available to you. What you really want more than anything else is always available to you. Peace, satisfaction, happiness, well-being. It's there right now. It's there right now. This is the most important thing, because if we get into talking about this and we get into a lot of conceptual understanding, right, that feeds the personality's idea that the personality can get from where it is to what we're talking about. And that's just not true. It's so simple. All you have to do, right, is stop doing anything. Just let yourself notice what's always already here, right? Now, if you let yourself notice what's already here, always already here, like you're already on the bus, right? Then you can watch the thoughts come, I'm not on the bus. But the thoughts that say, I'm not on the bus, no longer have any relevance for you. You understand you're just watching a program run. And as you watch that program run without being involved with it and without being interested in it, the energy of those thoughts will start to dissipate because you're not playing ball. It's like Muji used to say, you know. The performer, the thoughts are auditioning. They're auditioning for your attention. They're auditioning for your attention. So the thoughts will present you with things that are attractive, like, oh, do this. Why don't you do this, you know? Or don't do that, you know? Or what the teacher said means this, so do this, You know, it'll start to go through all kinds of gyrations about what actions to take, because the only way that it can accomplish anything is through action. You know, one of my teachers used to say when he was talking to people about how to produce results, one of the things he used to say to people when he was talking to people about how to produce results is you have to be clear about something. The only thing that makes a difference in the world is action. That's true. Think about it. The only thing that makes a difference in the world is action. You can think about being on a diet, you can think about working out, you can think about getting married, right? But until you take action, nothing changes, right? Right? So that's why the doer is so hypnotized to do, right? But the one thing that doesn't require any action is that which has already occurred. And so that's the dilemma. You know, in the world, you have to continue to operate with the idea that you have to act to make something happen, right? You have to produce results, right? Where you're trying to use the same approach to waking up. You're trying to use the same approach to experience the truth about who you are, but this is the one instance where that doesn't work. So, and not only is it the one instance where that doesn't work, but if you can let go, if you can stop trying to do anything and just let yourself notice what's already always here, and you can start allowing that to inform who you're being when you're taking actions, your actions are going to be a lot more effective. Because they're coming from the real source. They're not coming from a pretense. They're not coming from the personality. The personality is invested in looking good and being in control and all the rest of it, right? Now, the awareness is just interested in expressing itself, right? Expressing itself in terms of having fun and then going to the party, you know, bringing the fun to the party, being effective and then going to work, you know, being able to cause things and produce things in the world because you let go of the idea that you're a doer. And when you let go of the idea that you're a doer, the real source can act through you now because you're not in the way. When you let go of the idea that you're a doer, the real source can act through you now because you're not in the way. That's power, you know, that's when things happen that are an act of God, you know. When you see baseball players or sports players, you know, like the pitcher coming off the mound in the game, right? When they come off the mountain and doing this, right? You know, you may say, well, you know, the guy's a very religious guy, right? I don't know. Maybe he's really clear that he wasn't on the mound. You see what I'm saying? That he let something that is the real source throw the ball. And then he discovered how successful and effective that was. What does that mean? It means that when he's on the mound, he's not up there thinking about the game. All he's doing, and if you see a real good pitcher that's pitching a no-hitter or pitching a real good game, right? You can see their focus. You can see their focus, right? It's almost, you can almost see that there is nobody there. The eyes are pure awareness looking at the ball, pure awareness looking at the game. And that's when they're able to act in full abandon. That's when they're able to let their body go full out and throw the ball as hard as possible and do it with accuracy. And they learn this. They learn it in the pitching coaching and the whole process, right? But even though that's the case, I doubt that there's very many of them that are understanding that they're actually waking up when they're in the game so that they can play the game successfully, because when you're awake, you're allowing the source to play the game instead of the personality.
That's when they get in trouble, right?
Yeah, sure. When you start to worry, that's why if a pitcher starts to fail, right?
Sure.
Listen to what they say afterward. You know, I got shook up. You know, I was concerned. That's right. After a pitcher pitches to a batter that hits a home run with the bases loaded, right? That pitcher's got to really, you know, be clear that he's got to let that go. If he can't let that go, he's going to be in trouble. And often they are. Don't you notice? Often they are. After something like that happens, you know, they start walking guys. They start missing the strike zone. Same thing in your life, right? As you're going through life, the little things, as you wake up in the morning, the little things that occur that you react to, right, are taking you out of the game, just like it takes a pitcher out of the game. The little things you react to that you may not notice are affecting your mood, right? You wake up and little things happen around the house, right? Before you leave the house, you have a pre-fucked day. It's true. It's true. You know, for a lot of people, before they leave the house, their day is pre-fucked. So now they feel it, right? They're in the mood, right? You have the black cloud is there over your head, right? So now you're looking for evidence that life sucks and then you die, you know? So you get in your car, right? And every little thing that happens is like, God damn it, life is working against me today, you know, like that. So if you understand the truth and you understand reality, when things like that happen, you smile. You smile and you just let it pass. Just let it pass. Don't let it accumulate. If you let it accumulate, if you keep a file folder each day of what didn't work, and you start in the morning, right, and you start putting things in there, by lunchtime, you know, you're pretty much screwed. You know, after that, you're just waiting to get home so you could eat something to distract yourself and get to bed. And then the next morning you get up again, you figure, oh, it's a brand new day. Yeah, it takes about 10 minutes for that to be over. You know, we laugh about it because, you know, the stand-up comedians that get the most laughs are the ones that are just telling you the truth about yourself. Yeah. And you got to laugh because it's so goddamn true. But it's a tragic truth. It's a tragic truth because you're laughing about the way you are, but the way you are is killing you. So if you wake up, you can develop a sense of humor about the way you are, but you're also able to not continue to live from there. So the sense of humor is a good laugh. It's a earned laughter because you realize now that you can laugh at it because you're not being it. You can laugh at who you were, you can laugh at who you've been being in your life because you're not being it anymore. And then you can laugh when you see it in other people too, you know. And when you're laughing, you're not laughing at them, you're laughing with them. You just need to get them on board with the joke. Are you? Wait a minute. Are you present?
Am I present right now?
I'm talking about the truth, not what you think.
I go in and out. I mean.
No, I'm talking about the truth. Are you present?
Am I present? According to you, no. I don't exist. There's just the awareness.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the truth. If I'm talking about the truth, I'm not asking you the person, are you present? I'm asking you the reality of who you are. Are you present?
The reality of who I am I present?
Don't think about it. Right now, right here. Right now, right here, right? If I say, are you present, and you look, what's the answer?
Yes, I'm present right
now. Oh, okay, right. And you don't have to think about it, right? It's
that
obvious, right?
No,
right.
But I can go in and out of thought even while you're speaking.
Yeah, but but if I'm talking about the truth, I'm not asking about what you think.
Yep.
Okay? I'm asking if you're present. And when you don't think about it and you just look to see if that's the case and you say yes, right?
Yeah.
What did you have to do to be present?
Nothing.
Okay, keep practicing that.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what you described is what the personality will do. Oh, let's see. If I practice, if I go out of the and I go back to thought, but if I really, that's the personality trying to be present. All the while, you are present.
It is though, but if I don't keep my awareness on something, I'm going to go into that thought.
That's right. That was a thought.
It was a thought.
Yeah.
You can't stop the thought.
No, it's not a question. It's not a matter of stopping the thought. It's a matter of getting used to the truth, which is that you're already on the bus. See, I told you you're already on the bus, and then you start telling me about how you're going to get on the bus. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand. You're so used to operating that way that you can't come up with anything else. You're a one-trick pony. All you know is what to do, right? But I'm telling you what to do doesn't work with this, right? Because you're already where you're trying to get to, right? And if you get that, once you get that, right?
Yeah.
Then you realize the show's over. You're not trying anymore. The search is over. You're not trying to be who you already are. If you realize that you already are who you already are, that only has to happen one time. If you really get it, it only has to happen one time. And when it happens one time, now you know the truth. Now, you will still fall into the trap, right? Because the program will still play and the thoughts will still run and they'll tell you what you have to do to be what you are. I had it, but I lost it. So now what do I have to do to get it back? See? That's the way it'll play.
Walk to the car, do nothing.
Yeah.
And understand when I start thinking, those are thoughts.
Yeah, but you see, you already did something. You see?
Yeah.
So all you have to do is keep watching the personality make attempts, right? Keep that, Paul Hederman calls that selfing. The personality is selfing. It's trying to get back into the identity of the personality, right? That's what's being threatened, is the identity of the personality, right? But if you're just being there and you're not identified with that, it'll still run. But if you're just being, you're not identified with that, right? Then it'll continue to run until it dies out enough that you realize that that's just thinking. That's all. You don't have to be identified with that. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to follow it. It'll die its own death. And the beginning is the hardest, because in the beginning there's no way to get around that you're going to be the personality trying to be the awareness. That's inevitable. It's just inevitable. But you'll get over it that's why I say consistency and continuing to come back to this class and practicing meditation is so critical, because in time you'll get over it by coming back and touching the truth again and again and again. Until you get used to that's really the truth. That's really who you are, and the rest of it is just thoughts playing.